Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Scoreboard Keepers. We have a special guest with us today. Oh man, we're talking about those Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll see you right back in 30 seconds.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the Scoreboard Keepers. You're around here, we'll keep the seats. We keep the score. So you want to get on the board, make your point. If it makes sense, we'll add it to the board. If it don't, we won't. Scoreboard Keepers.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Scoreboard Keepers. We have a special guest with us tonight from representing the Philadelphia Eagles. It's my guy, Asaf. Asaf, welcome to the show, my guy.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on, man. It's going to be a fun time.
Very welcome. Very welcome, man. It was a big week of football. You know that, right?
Yes, sir.
And we were all out here, rooting for our teams, but the one that stuck out the most was the Philadelphia Eagles.
Ain't that the truth?
It was Monday night, prime time. It was the only show in town. And I mean, I personally thought the game was in the bag, man. I thought the game was in the bag. I thought you guys had it. I don't know what happened. I know they said, don't turn your television off until the clock strikes 0. And I mean, you guys are the picture of that now. How do you feel about what happened? I want your raw feelings about what happened.
I'll tell you, man. Right after the game, I was furious. I mean, I'm sure you saw the Instagram video. I was like, that's legit raw, screaming, pissed off emotion. It looked like right off the rip. It looked exactly like it did at the end of last year. Like that's Absolutely. What pissed me off the most. Like, it's one thing to lose the game. It's one thing to lose it like that and in that fashion. It was the most. It was like you lost the game in the jaws of victory, right? Like they just took. Yeah. They're like, you know what, Atlanta, just take the win. That's basically what they did, and that's what pissed me off the most because, like you said, we had that in the bag. We had that in the bag. And
in the bag.
Yeah.
I was watching, right, and I saw your ranting video, and I'm like, this guy is pissed. And I could totally understand because, when you have a game in the bag, the way that they were in control of the game. When you have control of the game that late in the game, it's almost impossible for you to make a mistake to actually lose a game like that. I mean, the clock was on your side. You had the ball. You're at home. You have the fans. It's like I couldn't find any excuse for them to lose a game of that magnitude, right? Of that magnitude in that fashion. So I didn't know where to place the blame. So I was like, I have to bring a fan up here to try to explain to me exactly what's going on in Philadelphia right now. And as you can see, I have up here on the slide is the first guy. I need you to give me your feelings and your opinion about us fans on the outside looking in about Nick Sirianni.
Oh, where do I begin? So I guess it just let me preference this. Just because I am an Eagles fan, I am not a typical Eagles fan. Okay, I do support my birds in the midnight green. I do, but I'm also not wearing green colored glasses. I try to look at them objectively. Okay. I actually don't think Sirianni is an awful coach, like a lot of fans believe. Like, a lot of people think that this guy's incompetent and that he has no business being a head coach. I can't say that. I think if you come into the NFL and every time you finish the season, you've ended with a winning record, you're doing something right. Okay. So it's not like Sirianni can't coach. However, this whole offseason, this organization with Philadelphia, Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, everybody, the whole thing was Nick Sirianni is going to take a hands-off approach. He's the CEO type coach. He's not going to be involved in calling the plays, making the game plans, all that stuff. Right. So the way I'm taking that is that, okay, Nick Sirianni's sole job is to
Mhm.
one, get these guys ready to play, but two, to be able to manage the game and put all his energy into managing the game at the most optimal level. And
Mhm. Mm.
at the end of last season and on Monday night,
Mhm.
there was no logic at all in
Mm.
terms of how to manage these games. Because even beginning of Nick Sirianni's career, I thought one of his strong suits was how he was managing the game, how aggressive he was, and the decision-making rationale. But these past few weeks, from the slide of last season to now, I have no idea where the rationale comes from. And that's what is really driving me up a wall with Sirianni. But everyone thinks he's immature, that he's not ready to be a head coach, that he's got all these antics on the sideline. That's what we hear in the national media. That's what most Philly fans believe too. But
Mhm.
you know, to me, it's just like, if you're not calling the plays right now, if you're not managing the game well, and you're not
Right.
part of the game plan, what are you
Mhm.
doing as head coach of this football team? Like, just
Oh,
running
great,
practices? You know what I mean?
great
Like,
point.
like that is not what a head coach is supposed to be doing. So, Sirianni right now is in a tough spot. He really, really
Whew.
is.
I tell you, man, this guy for a while on the outside looking in, he almost looked like he was the guy. I thought he was like the entire future of the Philadelphia Eagles, but this last year or so, he looks like he doesn't have a clue what he's doing since your offensive coordinator left and went to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And I was wondering how that would transfer over to Jalen Hurts. I would wonder how he would deal with that situation of losing another coordinator, because coming out of college, he dealt with those kind of situations switching schools. And I've never seen him be the type of quarterback that could um he seems like to me that he has to be in the perfect system in order for him to flourish. We don't expect him to go out here and to be Brett Favre, right?
Right,
I don't
right.
expect him to go ahead and be Brett Favre, but I think he flourishes in a system that's fit towards his skill set. And now, when I was hearing during the offseason that him and Sirianni was having some type of problems, I'm wondering now if it was the offensive play calling. If it was the offensive play calls that Jalen Hurts was feeling that wasn't, geared towards his skill set. I noticed that he's under center a lot now. And I'm wondering if he likes it or if he dislikes it. What do you think?
Um, so I guess that goes into the X's and O's of things, right? So when Sirianni had
Mhm,
Steichen, when we went to the Super
mhm,
Bowl year, it was a full RPO type system, right? So
yeah,
Jalen Hurts wasn't asked to canvas the defense at the line of scrimmage, make checks at the
mhm,
line, call protections, nothing like that, right?
great point.
And it was just a pure one read RPO leverage type style defense, make the throw based on the numbers, right?
Yeah,
Once
yeah,
Steichen leaves, now it went back to the traditional pro style offense in which Sirianni had no motion. He basically had routes that only ran on the outside, nothing going across the middle. So that's when Dallas Goedert became useless. That's when Devontae Smith over the middle became useless. Nothing to AJ Brown over the middle, right? And it became a
mhm,
really predictable, mundane offense. And because it was the same terminology that Jalen Hurts
mhm,
did the year before, we only
right,
saw it as, oh, it's just an uptick in turnovers. He's just turning the ball over more. The offense looks okay because it was a top 10 offense. It was a top 8 offense under Nick Sirianni.
easily,
Forget that.
easily,
Right? It was a
yeah,
top 8 offense. And after that, we looked at it and we're like, okay, the organization rather was like, listen, Jalen Hurts took a step back, and then he had a problem with some of the game plans because he's like, listen, I want to be able to throw over the middle. I want to call protections at the line. I want to be
right,
able to progress my game and look at the defense pre-step and say, hey, check, they're in cover 2. Let's check to a play, check to a run out of this look, something like that.
right,
And he
right,
wasn't allowed to do that because Jason Kelsey
mhm,
was calling protections and all the veterans up front were doing that. Now,
right,
bringing Kellen Moore, it's a progression style offense. It's new terminology, new language,
mm,
which is why
mm,
Sirianni now is taking a step back and saying, okay, the organization wants me to be hands off in this approach, not involved in terms of the offensive game plan and the terminology and the coaching and the play calling, etc.
right,
And now, when we saw what we saw on Monday night, look, Jalen Hurts didn't play terribly, but you see
right,
frustration in the offense where it's like, the guy's not able to read defenses fully just yet. And like you
nope,
said, he needs,
nope,
at the moment, he needs the perfect scenario in order to flourish. And now, listen, I believe in his talent. I believe he is a guy that can elevate his game. He's just never been given the opportunity to do that in Philadelphia. And now this is the first year he's actually going to be a professional quarterback, and it's going to take time. Like, it's just going to take time. And in that sense, I think Eagle fans have to be patient with Jalen Hurts. But as far as the play calling goes, that's kind of the story with Sirianni and the Eagles organization, because it just became so mundane and it became frustrating for Jalen Hurts. Look, running backs. Christian McCaffrey was calling out the plays on his couch. You know what I mean? Like they had no answer. And the coaches have no answer for it. So, I mean, that it's just the play calling last year was a mess. Hopefully, it gets a little bit better this year. It's only week 2, but you know that I think that's kind of the expectation we have right now. It's a work in progress.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, he picked the perfect city to to try to ask for patience, boy, because they ain't gonna have too much. Okay, so Asa, we're gonna move right on to the next topic, man. This guy, you see who's up there, right? Let me ask you, how much do you guys miss this man right here?
So,
if at all.
All right, so we're not going to say that Jason Kelce leaving, we're not going to miss him. Of course, we miss Jason Kelce. I mean, wish he were a Philadelphia Eagle still, no doubt about it. However, the transition from him to Cam Jurgens has gone much better than expected. The line and its run blocking scheme, the protection has not been terrible. And Jason Kelce would be the first one to admit, saying, like, listen, I was not at my best playing my best ball, which is why when everyone thought that he would be coming back halfway through the year, that he's going to come back at the end of the season, I don't believe that. I think he truly believes, like, I can't make the plays that I used to be able to make. It's now time for this young man behind me, Cam Jurgens, to step up, because he had a hand in drafting Cam Jurgens. Like, he told Howie, like, hey, if you're going to pick a protege of mine, if you're going to pick somebody to replace me, that's the guy.
That guy.
And I think Cam Jurgens, again, still young. It's his first year at center. He played right guard last year, right? And he was backing up Kelce the year before. So he's getting better by the snap, in my opinion. And I think the offensive line in general, it's one of the strengths of this football team still. Like, you know what I mean? Even with all the turnover that's going on the right side. So I'm happy with Cam Jurgens. I miss Jason Kelce tremendously. I miss his leadership. I miss his presence on the field. But in terms of on the field play, it could be much worse. Like, it could be much worse for Cam Jurgens, and he's playing well.
Yeah, and I will double down on that. I will say that you know, one of the confirmation moments was when I saw the tush push. You know, when I saw the tush push, I'm saying, like, wow, if the tush push works, then they don't miss Jason Kelce then, because I mean, you know, you know, I mean, I'm just saying, you know, that's like a you know, that's like a meat and potatoes of your offense. I mean, if you got that, that's a bread and butter play.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean,
we're operating at first and 9. We're operating at first and 9 every drive. With
every drive. And I could tell you right now, you guys could have tush pushed on that swing pass. Could have tush pushed.
That's what pissed me off more about that call to go for the kick and go for that run pass thing over there in the goal line when Saquon dropped it. That's what pissed me off even more. Because I'm like, you were running it down their throat all night.
Right.
You could have gotten it to be, what, 4th and 1, 4th and 2. You could have tush pushed. Worst case scenario, you don't get it on 4th down. Boo-hoo. Now they got to drive 90 yards for the or 70 yards for a field goal with like a minute left on the clock. You know? So, I mean, I don't know. I thought that was mishandled completely. But like you said, the tush push worked great last night. Cam Jurgens, I think, overall has played well outside of the illegal man downfield penalties, which I think will get better with reps. But he's been good. He's definitely been good. The offensive line has definitely played well.
Yeah, and I can tell you what, when you guys run that tush push play, it takes at least 5 seconds off the clock too. So it would have been a clock killer too. You know what I mean? Because by the time they find the ball carrier, the refs don't know what's going on. You got 5 to 8 seconds running off of that clock easily. You know what I mean?
They had no timeouts. They had no timeouts.
They had no timeouts. There wasn't nothing they could have done. There was nothing they could have done about the clock, man. That's insane. I don't want to place blame just yet, but by the end of this podcast, I'm going to be placing the blame somewhere. I can guarantee you that. I
I
can
don't
guarantee
really.
because I mean, I can't find any excuse. I hate to see a team lose like that just because of the players, man. You put in that work all week long just to lose in the final 90 seconds of a game. No excuses, man.
Yeah, and listen, man. Look, there's plenty of blame to go around in that game. There really
It
is.
sure is.
Yeah.
It sure is. But at the end of the day, it always comes down to the man in charge. And speaking of a man in charge, how do you feel about your opponent's coach? Do you think that he did anything to outcoach Nick Sirianni?
Um. Do I think he did it? Listen, I like Raheem Morris as a coach. He was coach of the
Mhm.
year back in Tampa when he first had his first stint as a coach, right? Like he went 10-6
Remember
with the
that.
Buccaneers with Josh Freeman. So he's a quality coach, won a Super Bowl championship as a coordinator for the Rams, right? So the
Mhm.
guy knows what he's doing on defense. He held this Eagles offense to 21 points when the week before they dropped 34 on the Green Bay Packers, right? So he obviously was doing something right. His calling
Yeah.
cards defense. And for the most part, I thought he really let the offense say, you know what, we're not going to get beat over the top. Let
Mhm.
Devontae do his thing. We don't believe anybody else on your offense can beat us one-on-one outside of Saquon Barkley and Devontae Smith, right? So,
Right.
and I think the MO is out in Philly right now, at least at the moment with Kellen Moore with his play calling, that he's
Mhm.
not going to be super, super, super committed to the run. So like,
Mhm.
okay, Saquon Barkley may hit us in spurts, but
Mhm.
he's not going to be killing us all game because Kellen Moore's
Right.
going to want to chuck the rock around. And with no AJ Brown
Without a
out
doubt.
there, and you have AJ Terrell on the opposite sideline going one-on-one with Smith, it's like, okay, I'll take my chances with a Pro Bowl cornerback like AJ Terrell, maybe double covering him, letting him get the yards underneath and be tackle, and kind of let everybody else. If they beat us, so be it.
Right.
So I think his
Right.
game plan on defense was just fine. I think it was enough
Mhm.
just to get the W, and it's really
Mhm.
more so about what Zach Robinson did on the offense, in my opinion, that changed the outcome of this game.
Mm. Mhm. I gotta agree with you. I mean, you made some hell of a points there because I mean everything was just spot on. I mean, the only thing that with him being new in Atlanta, I couldn't give him all that much credit either. I was thinking that he was, everybody's new down there in Atlanta. You got a new coach, new quarterback, the running back's young. You're getting to know the players that was already there, and it was like, you really don't know what you're going to get until you put your actual product out on the field. And he's learning about those players and his team right now. He's
Mm-hmm.
learning. He's learned more in the last 2 weeks than he's learned all camp about who he has
Oh, for
by
sure.
putting them on the battlefield and being able to go on the road. You find out really what kind of team you got when they can go on the road. Their backs was against the wall. They had just lost to Pittsburgh,
Yep.
and I mean they had every reason to tuck tail and run. They had every reason to just pack it in, but they didn't. They went on a road where they weren't the favorites, and they went into a hostile environment. It won't get any more hostile than in Philly.
Yep.
And to win a game like that, that can propel you into places that you never thought you would go.
I was
You
about
know
to
what I
say,
mean?
it's such a confidence boost going into the next week, especially in that division
Yeah,
where you need to be ready
no
to play.
doubt. No doubt. And I mean, it's a lot going on. So I gotta give him a little bit of credit. I don't know if it was all him or if it was all Kurt, you know?
Regardless, he's like you said, he's the head coach. He kept his guys poised, and he said, "Hey, they were still in that game regardless. All night they were in that game. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they were.
So you got to
Yeah,
give him credit. And like
yeah.
his calling card, his defense held this offense
Mhm.
to enough points where he just needed Kirk Cousins to make a play, to make a drive, and that's what he ended up doing ultimately in the end. So kudos to them, and they went
Yeah.
out and got that one. They really did.
Definitely did. I mean, they had to dig deep. They went down and got it because I ain't kidding you. When you guys started pouring it on them, and I started seeing how the offensive line started taking over late in the game, I said, this game is pretty much over.
Should have been.
Yeah.
Should have been.
Well, awesome. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, right?
Mhm.
I call him. He's the big thief to me. You know what I mean? I mean, this man has signed so many deals. He has no loyalty to nobody, right?
Right.
Do you think that he could be a franchise quarterback anywhere? Is this his last stop?
Um, I think so, depending on what they believe in Michael Penix, right? Like if they believe he's that guy, then Kirk Cousins
Mhm,
in 2 years is going to go somewhere else, right?
mhm,
He's not, like Kirk Cousins is good. Listen, everyone knocks Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins is a damn solid quarterback. You can do a
Yeah.
lot worse than Kirk Cousins back there, okay? And
All right. All right.
going into the game, everybody was knocking him on his primetime games, Monday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to, I mean, like after he left Philly, he's won 4 of the last 5 games on Monday Night Football. So it's not like the guy has come up short all of a sudden. And prior to that, in 2022, he had 8 come from behind drives to win the game. So like this notion that Kirk Cousins all of a sudden shrinks in high pressurized moments.
Right.
I think it's something that's a little bit of a misnomer. And I
Right.
think Kirk Cousins, if you give him good weapons, you give him good enough protection, he could slice and
Mm-hmm.
dice anybody. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, he will slice and dice you. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what Atlanta believes when they signed him to that 4-year, $180 million deal.
Mm-hmm.
And in Washington, when he left, they haven't gotten quarterback right until maybe Jaden Daniels, and we'll see about him. Minnesota has JJ McCarthy, and we'll see about him. But like, I don't think Kirk Cousins has left somewhere and they gotten better at quarterback. Okay,
Mm.
right? So like, Kirk Cousins is a solid quarterback. He's damn good. He puts up numbers. He could chuck the ball and out. He could score with anybody too when he's hot. So
No doubt.
you know
No
what I mean?
doubt.
Like, and he's like a smart, savvy quarterback, right? He's tough as shit. You know, he
Yep.
just doesn't have the playoff success that you maybe would like to see out of a guy who made that kind of money. But you know what? That's the NFL today. You're not getting paid for playoff wins. You're getting paid for regular season production. And Kirk
Yeah,
Cousins,
right.
he puts up some damn numbers in the regular season. So
I totally agree. I
yeah,
totally agree. You know what? And I'll double down on that one because everywhere he goes, when he leaves, they never replace him correctly.
no,
And let me tell you something. He's an old savvy guy that when he gets in his rhythm, oh man, he turns into a complete animal.
he can cook anybody.
Cooks anybody. So, and I know people don't want to give him his respect, and they don't want to give him his credit. But I'll tell you what, man, he can rip your heart out.
Yeah, absolutely.
He can rip your heart out, man. And it's unreal because they said he still had that injury. He was dealing with that injury, but I can't tell.
Well, listen, man, the way that pass rush that Philadelphia had was going after Kirk Cousins, it was non-existent. Okay, so all that did was just boost more confidence in that offensive line, in that offensive unit, in Kirk Cousins. He had all day to go home to Minnesota, bake a batch of cookies, and come back and hand it out to the rest of the team. That's how much time the guy had back there. You know what I'm saying? And like, you give Kirk Cousins that amount of time, plus with what we have in Philadelphia in terms of a young, youthful defense that's just like really at the moment just sucks. Like, he's gonna kill us. Like, he's going to kill you. You know, so it's just like it was definitely just a perfect storm in that sense for him to get his confidence going and to have that Atlanta team believe, like, hey, we got a quarterback who can get us the ball now. You know, with Desmond Ridder, it wasn't like that before. Now they have a competent, traditional, professional quarterback in the huddle with them who's been there and done that. So it can make a lot of noise if they can keep this momentum rolling. So we just got to see.
Interesting to see. You know what I mean? I mean, it seems like at the end of the year, the way they got these games set up, man, it seems that's going to be tight down the stretch because you got some teams coming out the gate with some tough games, man. You got some teams that haven't won yet, too. Some really good teams that haven't won a game yet. So we'll see. So that's going right into my next guy. B. John Robinson. A young, crafty running back. When he was playing against you guys, he was like he had a couple plays where he was gashing that defense. Do you think that do you think a running back of his caliber, of his age, his stature, should he be running through a highly touted defensive line like the Philadelphia Eagles? Do you think he should have been in? The reason I'm asking you this, Asaf, is because when I'm asking you this question, I want you to think about Nick Fangio. I'm saying, should he have been doing what he was doing? It's what you just said. Your last comment segued into what I'm my next question, because you said that they had enough time to go get some popcorn, pop it, and come back, and nobody was still getting to the man.
Right.
Is that a talent problem, or is that Nick Fangio's defense? What say
Um,
you?
it's a loaded. I shouldn't say it's a loaded question. There's just a lot
Mhm.
to that. Um,
Okay.
Vic Fangio's scheme. I think
Mhm.
most people who just watch football know that he really just plays a soft zone, a cover two shell, and cornerbacks are going to be off the ball. Safety's going to play
Mhm.
deep. You're not going to give everything over the top, and
Right.
your linebacker play's got to be stellar. We
Mm.
don't have that in Philadelphia. And
Mm.
quite frankly, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Milton Williams, Bryce Huff, Josh
Mhm.
Sweat, and then Brandon
Mm.
Graham, Nolan Smith, right? Like a lot, all these guys, other than
Kobe
Brandon Graham
Dean.
at the moment, are right. They're just underperforming. They are underperforming to a
Mm.
high degree. Like
Mm.
Jordan Davis for the 13th overall pick, he just looks like a guy. Like he doesn't look like that run stuffer that we thought he was going to be. Jalen
No.
Carter, people call him in Philadelphia Jerome Brown 2.0. He has that kind of talent. For those of you who don't know Jerome Brown, one of the most elite defensive tackles in Philadelphia. Like he was a sensational ball player in
History
his
in the history
time.
of the game.
Yeah,
In the
yeah.
history of the game.
He was an animal.
Mhm.
So Jalen Carter right now has not played up to snuff. Bryce
Mm.
Huff, don't even get me started with the guy. The guy looks like he can't play. He's got a half tackle more than I do, and I sit in my
Mhm.
freaking basement recording shows on on a camera. Okay, so like he looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. Nolan
Uh-uh.
Smith, he looks like a bust. So like
Right.
the defensive line, it's got players with pedigree, but the talent is not living up to its hype. And Vic Fangio's scheme, the one thing you can do on this defense, quick throws over the middle, and you can run the hell out of the football on this
Mm.
defense. And
Whoa.
when you got a
Damn.
guy like Bijan Robinson, man, and they saw it in the Packers game, Philadelphia
Mhm.
can't set the edge. They just can't.
Mm.
So they kept running that zone back cut running play where they would push the
Mhm.
line to one side. Bijan
Mm.
Robinson's talented enough to do a cutback, get 10, 15 yards, make a guy miss because we don't have the best linebackers in the world because they can't tackle
Right.
in the open field. And Bijan, like you said, he's a sensational running back. So he makes
Yes,
one
he
guy
is.
miss, he can take it to the house and go for 6. So
Mm.
he kept doing that all night. Tyler Algier did the same thing. Bijan Robinson was doing that all night.
Yeah.
They could have ran the ball every play for every single drive, and Philadelphia would not have been able to stop it. That's just due to the scheme. That's due to not being able to set the edge. And again, I sound like a very angry, pessimistic Eagle fan because I am, but
Mm.
it is week 2. It is early, but that is one of the weaknesses of this defense. And until this defensive line, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, and Bryce Huff nut up and play, this is
Mhm.
going to happen every single week. And we got the Saints
Mm.
coming up who are going to run the ball, who run a similar system. And you got
Yes,
Kamara,
they do.
who just had 4 tutties against the Cowboys. So
Easily.
like this
Easily.
is going to be the MO for every single team that we play. And we're in the NFC. You got the Niners, Detroit, Cowboys,
Mhm.
Atlanta,
Mhm.
the Rams,
Mhm.
all these
Mm.
guys, Seattle.
Mhm.
All these
Mhm.
teams run the ball. That's what they do.
Mhm.
So like we gotta figure this out at quick, fast, and
Yeah,
in a
no doubt.
hurry. You
Oh,
know what
no
I mean?
doubt.
So
No doubt, man.
like so
That's
like
a hell of a point right there. You're right, man, because you can't be playing around. Everybody jostling for position right now in that NFC, and
hell
you don't want to be
The
waiting.
Packers ran for a buck 63 on us. They ran for
Ooh,
163 yards on us. The
in
Atlanta
Brazil?
Falcons, I think they had like 150 yards or something like. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but they ran for over 100 plus yards. So like it's easy picking. So they're giving up 6.4 yards a carry in Philadelphia right now. That's the
That's
worst in the
that's
NFL. And
that's
when you got
crazy.
Jordan, and you invested in Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and you got a 3rd round pick in Milton Williams, and you got all these players in your front 7 that you've invested in, and that's what you're giving up. I don't know if that's totally on coaching. We know that's what the Fangio scheme is going to do. I think it's a
Right.
little bit of both. I think it's a scheme and a talent issue, but that's a whole nother topic for another day because I can go on all day about
Man, let me tell you something. I 100% agree with you on that. I mean, 100%. You just made all the sense in the world. So it can't be his defense. If they're getting 6 yards, the coach can't come down and suit up and play.
yeah,
You know
man.
what I mean? He can't come down and suit up and play, man. I mean, that's if you can't stop the run in the NFL, it's going to be a long year.
That's what I'm saying. But 6.4 yards a carry, like Where's
That's
your
insane.
pride? Where is the pride? Like, as
Telling you.
just as like, you don't have to be a professional football player to understand. Hey, you're on defense. The one thing
Yeah.
these people are not going to do is run the ball on us. Like, you got to show some pride, and you're a professional
Exactly.
freaking football team. Like, you know,
Well,
show some cojones.
and
You
I'm
know,
paying you a lot of damn money. You better stop that damn run. You better
yeah,
seal
man.
that thing up. You get paid too much. You get paid too much for that guy to run by you.
Hey,
I'm
listen.
sorry.
Remember last season, Detroit had like an awful defense, awful pass
Yeah.
defense. The
Yeah.
one thing they said, they came into that season last year and they said, you know what we're gonna do? We may not be able to stop the pass, but we'll be damn sure be good against the run. You're not running the ball on us. They made that commitment. You're not running the ball on us. You know what I mean?
And then they shored up their run. They shored up
Exactly.
their run too. So I mean, they was like, listen, we know what we got to do. We know what the recipe is. If we want to get to where we got to go, the recipe is we got to be able to stop the run.
Hey man, that's the first thing for any NFL football team. Run the ball, stop the run, no turnovers. Those are the three things you got to do as a football team. If you could do that, you can win a lot of games. You can win a lot of games doing that.
So segueing right off of and piggybacking right off of what you were saying,
Sure.
and the reason I have this guy up here is because I thought you guys played one hell of a scheme against this man right here because he is their guy. He is their guy, Mr. Pitts. He is their guy, right?
Yeah.
He was quiet for most of the night, and I'm trying to figure out who did you guys have on him? Who was shutting him down? Like who? What happened to him? He just didn't. He did not show up really for this game. Not like he was supposed to. He's a highly talented tight end. He's Pro Bowl material.
Mhm.
And when he came into Philly, he was totally shut down. And I couldn't figure out who was actually on him because I know they probably schemed up for him. It was like, we're just taking this guy away.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was like I don't know how you guys did it, but it was impressive.
I don't know if we had like an individual player on him, right? Because the MO for our linebackers is that they can't cover in the pass. That's like the thing for us, right? But I think what ended up being the case in Atlanta, they were running the ball so well and getting these down blocks with Kyle Pitts and Drake London setting the edge. They're like, we can just do this all night. Like, we don't need to throw it to Kyle Pitts. We don't need to throw it to Drake London. We can do this all night and just run the ball down these guys. Because that's basically where most of their offense came from until the last drive with Kirk Cousins. You know what I mean? So it was definitely just – I think it was just one of those games where they're like, listen, they took what was on the field and they're like, listen, Kyle Pitts, we just need you to go and block Bryce Huff, basically. We just need you to down block, set the edge for us. We'll run around you. And I think that's kind of what he did. Because Kyle Pitts, like you said, talented ball player. And it's not like he's a bad blocker. The guy can somewhat block for the guy his size. And we know he's an elite pass catcher. But I don't think his services were needed in that department, as we saw on Monday night. It was just more Bijan, Tyler Algier. We could run the ball on these guys all night. And there was no resistance in that front.
Man, that's incredible. That's an incredible thing. I mean, it's bad for your organization, but I mean, I guess Atlanta is looking at that as a plus that they were able to do that on the road. I'm pretty sure they're going to try that against some other opponents, but I never expected that from the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm going to move right to this guy. Okay. What I noticed was on that last drive of that game, and this goes back to Vic Fangio's defense. We all know if we played any football in our lifetime, we know that when the clock is not on the other team's side, we always want to keep them in bounds. We want to tackle them in bounds. We want to do whatever we can do to keep that clock rolling. I watched Darnell Mooney catch 2 deep balls on the sidelines, and there wasn't another player within 5 yards of him. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell kind of defense they were in. And I'm going to say something that's probably going to piss you off a little bit, because I was wondering where the hell was Bradbury at? And because and the only reason I'm saying that is because a veteran would have known that And I don't know where those guys' heads was, but for that guy to catch that ball that deep and not to have a defender within 5 yards or 8 yards, they weren't even in camera. He had to turn around and run towards them and then got out of bounds without a hand even being put on him. I didn't understand the coverage.
Yeah, I mean, so that whole last drive was an absolute debacle from
Mm.
from an Eagles fan perspective. Okay, in terms of the coverage, man, I think
Right.
Philadelphia and Vic Fangio with this scheme. I mean, look, we just played too far off the ball, and
Mm.
I get like you don't want to give up any big plays and all that stuff. Like that's the idea behind the Fangio scheme. But you know what? The safeties were lining up 25 yards off the line of scrimmage. The cornerbacks were
Mm.
lining up 12, 15 yards off the ball. The linebackers were playing back deep because they didn't want to give up anything over the top. And when you got Kirk Cousins and the loaded weapons on this offense, he's just going to be like, okay, I got a minute 45. I could just take a 15-yard chunk. I could take a 12-yard chunk. I could take a 20-yard chunk here and there because these guys are dropping back thinking they're going to take a shot,
Right.
And again, we had Quinyon Mitchell on the side where Darnell Mooney was cooking us on that sideline. So, like, I'm not going to kill the rookie for, a lot of the time I think he was trying to jump the route because he had that one play in the first quarter where he almost got the pick on that sideline route. So I think he just kept trying to bait him again. But, in that situation, sideline as a defender, you got to make sure you don't give that offensive player access to the sideline. That is like rule number one. And
Rule number.
yeah, man. And like for whatever reason, this defense just in those tight situations, in tight games, for some reason, this team forgets how to play football. Like they just do. It's unfortunate because, like I said at the beginning of the show, starting from the end of last season to what happened on Monday night, I think Philadelphia has had 4 games where they've had the lead in the fourth quarter, and they ended up squandering it.
Whoa.
You know what I mean? That's the most in the NFL. Like most teams win 90% of their games in that scenario with like 5 minutes left or something like that. Philadelphia has lost 4 of these types of games. I think they've been in 6 or something. I forget the number. Wow. They've been in 6 games and they've lost 4 of them where they just squandered the lead.
That's a hell of a stat.
Yeah, it's a damning stat is what it is. And you mentioned Bradbury. I think Bradbury got hurt in training camp and he had a pretty bad injury. So he's out for like 6 to 8 weeks. So he's not even accessible to us on the field. So you have to rely on the rookies like Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. You have to rely on Avonte Maddox. You have to rely on some of these other guys on the back end because, even though Bradbury looks like he can't run anymore, like you said, just a veteran out there to know, like, okay, here's the situation. He can't give up the sideline, right? Those types. But again, you and I, we're not NFL players. We knew that sitting on our couches watching this game. Every fan knows who watches football. 2-minute drill, no timeouts, tackle and bounds. That is rule number 1. And
number 1
reason was just like take the sideline, go right ahead. Please do your thing. Take any chunk you want, And it literally looked like it took like 5 plays for Atlanta to get down the field, and Atlanta was literally at the 10, 15-yard line. They're like, we got down here damn quick. Like he's looking around, he's like, we're already here. Like that's what it looked like when they were calling their play. So I mean, like maybe just maybe, if they couldn't get a stop, Philadelphia was thinking like, you know what? We ain't stopping these guys now. Let the offense let them just get yardage, and we'll put the offense back out there and win the game.
Shit. Yeah.
But it's inexplicable to me what they did on that last drive. I have no idea what they were thinking. Maybe they weren't thinking. That's probably what it was. But it's too frequent that happens. And that's what pissed me off the most. It's too frequent that happened for a team that's to be considered a contending NFL team for the Super Bowl. Philadelphia gets put in this class where they're trying to contend. Me as an Eagles fan, I personally don't believe they're there. But if you're constantly in that discussion, you cannot squander leads time after time after time like
Good
that.
point.
You
Yeah,
know,
habitual offenders.
it's honest. It was honestly a damn shame. It was just a
Yeah,
damn shame.
I'll tell you what, Asaf, I gotta agree with you, and Imma double down on that. They seem like habitual offenders, and what was so embarrassing is when I was listening to it, they got down the field so fast on that drive that I heard the announcer say, that they need to, run some time off the clock to make sure the Eagles
Yeah,
go
yeah.
back.
They were literally like, you don't have to rush here. Like, you really don't have to rush here.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It was insane, man. It was insane. So let's move right on to our next topic, man. We moving right along. Listen, we segueing right into some great stuff, Asaf. It's going as according to plan, man.
Mhm.
This guy right here, was it a good move to get rid of him? Because this guy right here, in my mind, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, this guy used to just I used to just watch him and be like, man, damn, I would love to have him on the team. This guy right here, I believe, would have been all over Kirk Cousins if the Eagles would have kept him and just gave him the little bit of money that he was asking for and not have to worry about those edge rushers. Edge rushers are hard to find in the league, and everybody's trying to load up on them. You got the guy, you got Crosby, you got the guy in the Raiders, you got the guy in Detroit, you got TJ Watt, you got you got Garrett from Cleveland, you got Parsons from Dallas. You got edge rushers, man. You got guys. Each one of these teams have guys that can get to the quarterback, including Kansas City. They get to the quarterback more from the interior, than they do the exterior. But they have guys that put pressure on these quarterbacks, and when they have bad intentions. And I believe that the Eagles have one. I know Brandon Graham has bad intentions when he tries to get around and get to the quarterback, but he's up in age now. Mm-hmm. This guy right here, Hassan Reddick, who is not even with the Jets yet. Okay, he's not. I don't know what's going on. He wants the contract. He wants new money. But I thought that the Eagles should have kept him, and I believe that he would have been the guy in that game that would have rattled Kirk Cousins all night long. What say you, Asaf?
So this is where you're going to find me to be a weird Eagles fan. I thought it was the right move to let him go. I thought when I first initially heard the trade rumors, I was upset. But then as I sat and thought about it, at that time, he was asking for Nick Bosa money, which was like $30 million.
Oh my goodness.
I love Hassan Reddick. Love him as a player. He is not a $30 million player. He's not a guy in Vic Fangio's scheme who's going to set the edge on the run game. He's not going to drop back into coverage, which Vic Fangio has his ends do a lot. And yes, he's an exceptional pass rusher, but for $30 million, I need you to be an edge. And Hassan Reddick, with all due respect, there's a reason that he's been on so many teams these past years. He went with, Arizona, went to Carolina, went to Philadelphia, and now he's with the Jets. There's a reason for that. Okay? Like it's not that he is not a good player, he can't get after the passer. No, it's that sometimes he can be pouty. Sometimes he has a problem setting the edge on the run, and he's not willing to drop back into coverage, which is what Vic Fangio is going to want these guys to do. Now, in that sense, I believe Howie Roseman made the right call in getting him out of Philly. Like, we're not paying you $30 million just to do that. However, I thought it was a mistake to bring in a guy like Bryce Huff. I probably would have gone a little bit of a different approach in that sense. But, I don't find anything wrong with Howie Roseman and this organization moving on from Hassan Reddick. Would he have helped us in the Monday night game? Maybe, but that still would not have stopped Atlanta from running the ball on the outside because Hassan Reddick, like Bryce Huff, cannot set the edge. Like it's like that would still have been a problem in Philadelphia. So in terms of running the ball, people are going to run the ball on us no matter who would have been there. Maybe he would have made a play at the end of the game to get Kirk on the ground. Certainly would have been better than Bryce Huff in that sense. But, my guys on like Bryce Huff is on the field right now trying to contribute. Hassan Reddick is taking a fine for not playing football right now for whatever reason. So like that's the problem with the Hassan Reddick thing with the conversation. He's not even on the field and he's losing money and he's not willing to go get on the field until he gets big time money. Which if he does, he's gonna have to pay the fines anyway. So he's gonna end up being back at what he was making in Philadelphia anyway. That is nothing for him right now. You know what I mean? So
full circle.
Yeah, he's an odd duck in that sense. But you know what? Like, I hope the Jets end up seeing him play because I think he is a really good player and I think he could help that team out. Because he is a talented pass rusher. But like Philadelphia would have had the same problems with him or without him, and we just have the problems without him and for a little less money.
Interesting. That's very interesting. I know he's a good player. I didn't know that he was asking for that kind of money. His numbers would have.
That was the discrepancy. I think Philadelphia was willing to pay him like 23, 24, 25 million, but like he wants Bosa money. He wants $30 million because
you can't get Bosa.
What was it? 2 years in a row he had like double-digit sacks. He had like 19 and a half in the playoff run, and then he had 11 last year. So he had 30 sacks over the past 2 years. That's Myles Garrett. That's Bosa. That's all these guys' type of numbers in terms of getting after the quarterback, TJ Watt, right? And he's like, hey, these guys are getting paid. I need to get mine too. And quite frankly, he should advocate for getting that kind of pay. However, he is not the player that those guys are. He's not any of those guys. Unfortunately.
No, you're absolutely right. And guess what? Those guys have done it over long periods of time. Yeah. Also, I understand him trying to get it while the getting's good. But I don't see them giving. I don't see him getting that type of money will require a long-term deal.
Yeah,
and I don't know if he's a long-term. Yeah, I don't know if he's a long-term. Yeah,
old, right? And you know what I mean? Like, and you can only, and you're basically a guy who can't play the run. You're not a guy who's going to drop back into coverage. You're a pass rush specialist to the degree, one of the better pass rushers in the NFL. But Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt, Crosby, Aiden Hutchinson. All those guys who are getting that big kind of money, they're 3 down players who could play the run and play the pass. And Hassan Reddick, unfortunately for him, he's too small to play the run, and he's not quick enough to drop back into coverage, but he's damn good at getting after the quarterback. And that's kind of what that's the problem here with why he's so adamant on getting his money, which he should do. But I don't think a team's going to pay him unless it's for like, a $20 million deal or something like that. And quite frankly, I don't think he's willing to pay for that kind of money.
In your opinion, before we move on to the next topic, does he sit out the whole year?
I think so. I don't think anybody's going to pay
him. Not unless somebody goes down on injury, maybe.
Yeah, but even then, he's going to want the contract. Like the Jets traded him thinking like, oh, it's just a change of scenery he needs. He wants his money.
Yeah.
And the Jets are like, we're not willing to pay you $30 million. Like, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, they said, you're not even here. We can't even talk to you.
Yeah.
We're not even here to talk to you. We can't even negotiate. You're not here.
They're finding him as we speak. And by the time he signs that big deal, he's going to have to pay half that money anyway. So,
if I had to guess, I would. If I had to guess, I would say he was in the stands watching the game Monday night. He wants to be back in Philly.
Yeah, maybe that guy was in Tokyo doing some shit. I don't know. That guy was he was doing some weird stuff in the off season, man. So look, he's a one of a kind dude. Like all
right.
You know what I mean? Like he's got his own thing. Good for him. For whatever reason, that's what he wants. So,
well, Asaf, as you can see. On the next topic,
my guy.
The next topic, all I gotta say, I'm not going to even ask a question on this. I'm going to just give me your opinion on that guy that's on the board right now.
Oh, I got a love-hate relationship with Howie Roseman. I do. I really, really do. Because I think a lot of the stuff that he does as a GM is phenomenal. I think he's aggressive. I think he's willing to correct any mistake he thinks he's made or that he has made, by overcorrecting it, which I think is a quality thing. I think he wants to win to the umpth degree. I don't think he's like one of these GMs who's just like, oh, I want to build this team organically. No. He wants to go after it and get that Lombardi trophy. He wants it, right? He's the best in the NFL when it comes to orchestrating, constructing, and negotiating a contract. Nobody does it better than him. Nobody. I don't care who you are in the NFL. He's better than Brett Veach. He's better than the guy in Chicago, in Detroit. Nobody does it better like Howie Roseman, right? However, he is so spotty when it comes to hitting on draft picks. And he's so spotty in terms of giving up control in the organization. Okay. He, again, this is like an insider Eagles fan thing, but like Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, they meddle a lot in the game plan for Philadelphia. That's why Doug Peterson ended up being out the door, a Super Bowl winning head coach. Now, listen, you could have your differences with Doug Peterson, and it ended terribly because it was a 4-win team when he left, and that's why they got rid of him. But you see what's going on when the front office meddles in football operations here. You see it in Dallas. You see it with the Browns. And right now, Philadelphia is in a position where, you know, Howie Roseman isn't super hands-on, but he's got like a hand in the cookie jar. You know, like he kind of likes to be down there and kind of know what the game plan is, give his thoughts on the game plan. That's what him and Lurie like to do. And that's something that I hate about Howie Roseman. And I hate that he, for some reason, can't land on us on a viable defensive starter. Now, Quinyon Mitchell, he might have hit on, right? It's still early to tell, but I like the way he looks. I think Jalen Carter is a talented player. But again, Jalen Carter is a top 10 pick. It's very tough to miss on a top 10 pick. Same with Devonta Smith. Top 10 pick. Very hard to miss on a top 10 pick. But
I agree.
He drafted Nakobe Dean, who looks like just a guy at best. He drafted Nolan Smith, who looks like a bum. He drafted Jordan Davis, who looks like just a guy at the 13th overall pick. Okay.
Right.
He drafted, he didn't draft, he signed Bryce Huff, who looks to be horrific as a defensive player. He drafted JJ Arcega-Whiteside a few years ago. He drafted Jalen Reagor. Well, I shouldn't say he drafted Jalen Reagor. That's a Doug Peterson pick. But never mind. He drafted a lot of wide receivers that looked terrible before he corrected it with A.J. Brown, right? He, like I said, he drafted Nolan Smith at the 30th pick, looks terrible. He took Jordan Davis before Kyle Hamilton. He took Nolan Smith before Brian Branch. He took Cooper DeJean at the second pick in this past year's draft. And I like Cooper DeJean, but you know what? We needed a linebacker here. He could have taken Peyton Wilson. He could have taken Adrian Cooper. He could have taken a lot of these guys who are quality players right now for the Packers, for the Steelers. And we could have had a guy to look forward to in the middle of our defense. He let go of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson after our Super Bowl year, signed James Bradbury to the same amount of money, and he ended up being terrible. And now we had to fix it by re-signing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back. You know? So
unbelievable.
There's a lot of stuff that like he does that's really, really, really good. But he's also I like Saquon Barkley. I thought he paid too much money for him, but you know what? He's playing like a superstar, so shutting me up. But like Patrick Queen, superstar linebacker in the NFL, went to the Pittsburgh Steelers for the same amount of money. You could have signed him. The same amount of money you gave Bryce Huff. You had Devin White. You signed for a year, $7.5 million. Can't see the field. You signed Zach Bond, who nobody knew who he was until he came to Philadelphia. And he's not a superstar linebacker. The guy can barely play. Like, he's just a guy at best. You know what I mean? Like, your best defensive lineman is Brandon Graham. And you have Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Nolan Smith on your line. Like that, like as great as Howie Roseman is all these other things, these are the things that he is not great at. That makes it so infuriating to watch. this
Right.
football team play on the defensive side of the ball. And
Yeah.
this offseason, he just kept investing in the offense, which is fine. But you
Right.
got this back end of the defense. You got this defense who's like terrible. And
Right.
nothing to address it. Nothing to address it. And I don't know if he's
Man.
going to try to address it more by trying to nail draft picks. And
Right.
quite frankly, his track record on draft picks isn't super, super great. Like, it's just not. So
Man,
I
you
don't
are
know
cooking right now.
I don't know why they think that they can build this team in the draft on the defensive side of the ball when he has no track record of doing so. Maybe NIL changes that because now it's just about following the money. But
Yeah.
you know, like
Those points that you just made are unbelievable because the money that he put out for those players that you're talking about and the players that was available, he could have had a majority of the ones that you named.
yeah,
He could have had the majority of them for the money that he's kicked out. You're right.
Yeah.
He could have had Peyton Wilson. He could have had
Yeah.
Patrick Queen. And I mean, linebacker is the necessary need. You put linebackers behind that defensive line.
I can guarantee you that they'd be able to play the run better. I can guarantee you they'd be able to have a pass rush. I can guarantee you these cornerbacks would look better if you had competent linebackers. But Howie Roseman, the knock on him in Philadelphia, he does not give a shit about linebacker. Excuse my mouth. But he let TJ Edwards walk to Chicago, and he only was asking for $7 million a year. And guess what? Chicago, I think PFF ranks them as the best linebacking core in the NFL.
Incredible.
And we got Zach Bond and the Kobe Dean. Like, what are we doing, man? Like, what are we doing?
That's insane. Like you're right. Then this is what I said. Like, it all looks good when he's trying to put it all together, but it doesn't seem like there's any plan there. It doesn't seem like there's any like the preparation for him grabbing these players. It just does not seem like it's all there. It seems like it's just like, let me get that guy, let me get them, let me get the whole Georgia Bulldogs college defense, and let me get that guy. It doesn't seem like there's any recipe, any method to his madness.
It's like he's trying to play money ball on defense and be the New York Yankees on offense. That's what it looks like. You know what I mean? And like, you don't win in the NFL doing that. You can have a star. Like, I don't care if you have a star, if you put all the money on the offense. I don't mind. You better hit on your draft picks, though. Like, I'm not going to lie. When we drafted Jordan Davis, I was like, that's a weird pick. That's just a weird pick to have. And I get it. You wanted to replace Fletcher Cox, but like, Kyle Hamilton was on the board. You could have had him. You drafted Nolan Smith. Brian Branch was on the board. Like, there are plenty of other guys at that point in the draft where you pick some of these players, and you're like, that's just a weird draft pick. And again, it's the Georgia Bulldogs. Look at what they did in college. One of the best defenses in college football. They had all these great players. It's the Georgia Eagles. It's the Philadelphia Bulldogs. All this hype machine. Because now Harry Roseman and this organization is looking at this and they're like, we're winning the media over. Let's just keep pounding this thing. Let's keep winning the media over. Look at all the offseason reports that you see in regards to the Philadelphia Eagles. They got the best facilities. They got the best communication between the organization and its players. They let the families come around the stadium and they have all these great things about the interactions between each other. And then you look at a team like Kansas City. Their facility is 32nd in the NFL. Their communication is dog shit. But you know what they're doing? They're getting into the playoffs, going on deep playoff runs, winning Super Bowls, hitting on draft picks. And I get it, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. But you know what? They're going into they go into every offseason with the plan, Kansas City. Philadelphia just seems like, okay, we got to get a linebacker. Let's just get anybody else. Like we'll get it for the cheapest contract we can. All these 1-year deals we signed for these guys. And you have all this turnover on defense, never developing any chemistry. Everyone believes this offense is going to be elite for the next few years because they're signed up for the next 3, 4, 5 years. They're going to have all this continuity with each other. You don't have that on the defensive side of the ball. You don't. There's nothing existent like that on the defensive side of the ball. Because Howie Roseman is just like 1-year deal linebackers, 1-year deal here, 1-year deal here. Milton Williams is due for a contract. Let's see if we can underpay him. We're gonna have all these guys are on 1-year deals because he's trying to save money to have a big free agent signing that will knock your socks off. Does it develop
Right.
into winning?
Right.
Right now, it's not. And again, it's very early in the NFL season, so I'm sure if we start winning games, my tune is going to change, and I'm going to be, Howie's my guy. I never doubted you. I'm going to probably get kind of insane, but if you had to look at it objectively, you know what I
Right.
mean? If you're looking at it objectively, this is the
Right.
track record of Howie Roseman. It just is,
Right.
and like
Right.
I still believe he's a top 5 GM in the NFL just because of what he could do with talent acquisition and trades and building a roster with professional guys who have been proven in the NFL. Like getting AJ Brown from Tennessee, savvy move. Getting Darius Slay for the value that he did, incredibly savvy move. Last season, getting DeAndre Swift for the value that he did, incredibly savvy move. Finding guys like, like Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph in our Super Bowl year. Those are moves that not a lot of GMs are able to pull off, are able to see that. Those are the things that he does well. But like in terms of drafting and just like getting a team with the like developing a team within the draft, it is not a strong suit of his. And a lot of the media, a lot of casual fans or people who are not looking at the Philadelphia Eagles like intently, they don't see that. They don't. And I think even a lot of Eagle fans don't see that objectively. Right. So, again, I went on a whole long rant and I apologize, but that's my love-hate relationship.
I love it. I love it. And I think that you were spot on. I think that you were spot on about everything that you were saying. It was funny that you were saying he would like to be hands-on because I noticed in that last minute when they showed Sirianni, yes, he was right behind him. He's stalking him and looked like a stalker. I couldn't believe it. I know that Nick Sirianni felt so uncomfortable when he turned around. I noticed that he didn't even make eye contact with him, but Harry was looking at him. And
go for it. Ahead. I'll tell you this. We won the Super Bowl in 2017. Every single person, staff, player, personnel director, anybody involved in that 2017 roster outside of Jeffrey Lurie, I guarantee you is not on the roster. And I think that's by design. I think he wants to walk around with the equity. Like, I got the 2017 Super Bowl ring. I'm the reason. Why do you think they got rid of Doug Peterson?
Oh, whoa.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, now you talking now. Because guess what? I mean, you don't need to stop there because you can go all the way back to Andy Reid. You can go all the way back to Andy Reid now. You're talking about some coaches out here winning some games, and Doug's winning some games too. Yeah. Now you got some coaches that everybody would love to have, and somehow they don't last long in Philadelphia. I mean, I can see, with Chip Kelly, I can see what was going on with that, but
Chip Kelly's a scum. We don't like Chip Kelly. Eagle fans don't like Chip Kelly. I don't mind that. Get him out of here. Well, you know what? He was the domino, though. He was the guy that made Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie say, like, okay, we cannot have that happen again. Because he came in, and every Eagle fan thought at that time with Deshaun Jackson, Macklin, LaShawn McCoy, Mike Vick, Brent Selleck. This team could go on a run. Like we can win this Lombardi Trophy in the NFC at that time. And what did he do? Chip Kelly comes in, wins 10 games. Year after that, trades for Kiko Alonso for LaShawn McCoy
from the Buffalo Bills.
Gets rid of Deshaun Jackson. Gets rid of Jeremy. You know what I mean? Like he got rid of all the star players for his Oregon guys.
Yeah.
And that's because he came in and he's like, I want to be the head coach. I want to be in charge of personnel. I want to have that control. Yeah. And Jeffrey Lurie and them were like, okay, fine, go ahead, do you. And after that, they were like, no. We are not letting that ever happen again. Which is why Sirianni got hired, and everyone thought, like, wow, that's a really questionable hire. Like, why did they bring him? You see how Nick Sirianni is. Probably the nicest guy in the world, but he doesn't give you like that, I got command of the room type of feel. He's not a guy that's going to be, super bombastic in terms of, like, if I'm against you about something, Howie Roseman, I'm going to be like, no, this is football. Like Doug Peterson, say what you want about him. He's a guy that's going to be like, no, this is fucking football. Like, I'm a football guy. Let me do my thing on the field. Don't meddle into my game plan. Like, I got this. This is my thing. That's why they fired him. They wanted to get rid of his coaching staff, and he's like, no, this is my coaching staff. You get rid of them, you get rid of me.
Rid of me, yeah.
And they ended up winning 4 games that year. They were justified in getting rid of him at that point. I thought they would have had a little more equity with him, but they got rid of him for that reason. So they want control. And listen, they're doing something that hasn't been done in the NFL. They had a Super Bowl team, got broken down, and built it back up to a Super Bowl contender within 5 years. That is like unheard of with a separate quarterback and head coach. So Howard Rose is the only guy that's done that. And but like I said, there's a lot of good and there's a lot of really bad with him. So,
well, yeah. I mean, let me tell you something. You want to talk about pressure? Because I mean, man, he's going to be under it, and I mean, Nick Sirianni is going to be under it. Everybody's going to be under some pressure, especially if they don't win that game this week. If something happens, where Nick Sirianni is they're thinking about getting rid of him in the midst of the season, because I think they would do something like that. Who would you like to be your head coach? Who would you prefer? Would Belichick be an option?
I'll tell you why I don't think nothing of that sort is going to happen. I don't think they're going to get rid of Sirianni this year. If I did have to choose a guy, if I had to choose somebody, I think, I would really love a guy like Mike Vrabel or Bill Belichick on the roster. That would be awesome. But I don't think that's happening. I think the guy that they would end up putting in that position is Kellen Moore. I think they really, really liked him coming into this offseason, which is why they brought him on. So I think he would end up being interim head coach. And you have Vic Fangio coaching the defense. You keep consistency on the offense. It's the quarterbacks. The staff's the same. Everybody knows him. They know the language, right? You're not doing a complete overhaul. So I think that if they were to get rid of Sirianni throughout the year, that would probably be them. However, I don't think they're going to get rid of Sirianni, especially if we win 10 games, win the NFC East, and get to the playoffs. I don't think that's going to happen. And partly because it's like, hey, Nick Sirianni acquiesces to what we want him to do. Why do you think they threw it on 3rd down and 3 at the 7-yard line in that Atlanta game? That was part of Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, and his son's game plan that got brought down on the sideline. They weren't thinking about running the ball. The percentages said, hey, most teams in this situation don't expect a pass. You'll have an open play. And look, to their credit, it was open. Saquon catches the ball, we have a totally different conversation. But
can't say that it wasn't, because it was open.
It was open, but
it was open.
It is just, but that's not a football. That is not a smart football thing to do.
Not at all.
You know what I mean? And like, if that were Doug Peterson on the sideline, you know what he would say? Fuck that! I'm running the ball. No way. I'm running the fucking ball. That's what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? Like, you put Campbell back there. I'm running the ball. I'm running the ball. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
Kellen Moore and Sirianni, they'll acquiesce.
I'll tell you, one of the things I worry about is I see players and they say teams take on the nature of their coach's personality. So if you got a passive coach, and a coach that's like that, so the team will start taking on that same type of attitude. Because like right now, what I'm thinking about is last year, right? The Eagles' offense was like unstoppable. It was unstoppable before. I'm talking. I would have personally, right? I never would have let that offense coordinator out the door that went to Indianapolis.
Yeah,
he would have never. He would have never left the building. I would have went in there with money, because if it's anybody that I would have wanted to be the head coach, if something would have happened to Sirianni, I would wanted it to be him, because he has a great relationship with my quarterback. This is where all my money is invested. He's our future, and we're banking on him winning the Super Bowl at some point. So it's important that I keep my quarterback happy and I keep my quarterback comfortable, because if the quarterback is not playing sound football, there's no way that you can make it to the Super Bowl. You have no shot if the quarterback's not playing sound football. And right now, this guy looks like he's regressed. He doesn't look comfortable to me. he still has the same weapons, but the offense looks different. The offense looked different to me. I'm talking about even the way they line up their sets. It looks different. There was plays that they were running that used to come so easy where it was like, man, they get 8 yards at will. They was getting 8 yards at will. It's like, man, they get 10 yards, then they take a shot down the field. And I don't see that right now. The offense was running good with Miles Sanders. Even though Miles Sanders, I know people had a problem with him. You know,
I'm a fan of
I
him.
don't.
Love Miles
Yeah,
Sanders.
yeah, Miles Sanders. And I mean, it was like, that brand of football, and it was smash mouth. And it was like, why fix it if it's not broke? You got all the way to the Super Bowl, and it was only because of a couple of plays here and there that you wasn't hoisting the Lombardi.
Right.
So why make all these other drastic changes, especially around your quarterback? I'm not moving anybody around him, man. What say you?
So, as far as Steichen goes, I don't. When Sirianni took over as head coach, it was his offense, and when Shane
Mhm.
Steichen took over the play calling duties, it was still Nick Sirianni's offense. Like people forget that. It's still same play design, still the same personnel, still same concepts, except
Right.
Steichen was the one, pulling on the puppet strings, calling the plays. So his
Right.
feel for the game and his ability to recognize, like, oh, the defense cannot stop this run play. I'm just going to keep running it until they decide to stop it. Like Sirianni doesn't have that kind of feel. Shane Steichen does. And he's creative enough to know, like, okay, I know the limitations of my quarterback at this time. We're going to run RPO as our base of our offense. Half of our players are going to be out of the RPO. He's not going to call protection. He doesn't have to read defense. He doesn't have to read coverage. Just find the leverage in the defense and pull the trigger. And if Jalen Hurts knows where he's going to throw the ball, he can throw the ball with anybody. Like you can't deny that. He can throw the ball with anybody if he knows where he has to go with the ball. Yep. However, when you ask him to look pre-snap at the coverage, read the defenses, which Sirianni's offense asks him to do, like a traditional old-style quarterback, Jalen Hurts ain't there yet. And then when you have a lack of motion and you have all these kids that don't attack the middle of the field and you have them on the outside, it becomes mundane. And with Shane Steichen, you see what he's doing in Indianapolis. He's got a similar type of quarterback in Anthony Richardson, a guy who just needs to be polished with how he throws the ball. But it's an RPO system. Doesn't ask much from his quarterback. Just find the open guy, pull the trigger, go on to the next play. Commit to the run when the run is working. Right? Like, they don't do that right now in Philadelphia. And again, Kellen Moore is an upgrade from what we had last season because at least Kellen Moore, to a degree, has somewhat of a feel for the game. He gets a little pass happy, but it's better than what Nick Sirianni was giving us last season. And unfortunately, when Shane Steichen is getting offered a head coaching job, Philadelphia is in no position to tell you, hey, be my assistant head coach and stay here for another year. Like it's not happening because they all thought, hey, Sirianni put this staff together. This is Sirianni's system. This is his plays. This is his design. He's the mastermind behind all of this. So you're thinking there's not going to be much of a drop-off. And then you had Brian Johnson come in who's been with Hurts all that time. You thought there wasn't going to be much of a drop-off there, right? So now what we've seen is Nick Sirianni, as unfortunate as this sounds, does not have a feel for the whole NFL game as a head coach at the moment. He still acts, walks around, and prepares games like a wide receiver coach. And I don't think it's any shocker to anybody, despite how talented these two guys are, that the best group, the best duo in the National Football League at wide receiver resides in Philadelphia. I don't think it's any shock behind that because I think, like I said at the beginning of the show, I don't think Sirianni is a bad coach. He can coach the hell out of wide receivers. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown get better every single year. That's just what they do. And maybe it's because they're great players, yes. But Nick Sirianni has something to do with that too. So,
again, I got to agree with you.
You know what I mean? Like, it's still his offense. Only this is the first year that it is not his offense. It's a completely new offense for Jalen Hurts. New terminology, new keys, new progressions, new, everything. New responsibilities and all that. So, we just have to wait and see with Kellen Moore and this offense and what Sirianni is. But you can't tell Shane Steichen not to take a head coaching job.
Yeah.
Like in the NFL, I don't think they're allowed to even do that. They can't stop the guy from taking a head coaching job. You know what I mean? So
You're right. You're right. But I can tell you right now,
you're not turning down a head coaching job. That's a once in a lifetime type of opportunity, right? So you got to strike when the iron's hot. And kudos to him because he's, in my opinion, this is going to be kind of a hot take. I think he's a top 2 or 3 play caller in the NFL. I think that guy is sensational at calling a football game. I really do. I love me some Shane Steichen, bro. I think he's so creative. He's savvy, quick on his feet. He's as good as anybody in the NFL calling a game.
Great point, man. That's a great point. That segues, man. I'm telling you, segueing right into my next question.
Sure.
You're right. You're right. Jalen Hurts can throw the ball to anybody in the right situation. But unfortunately, he threw it to this man late in the game. I watched the Eagles. We talking about Steichen and how good his offense is. When the Eagles actually got the ball back after they scored, the Eagles had a chance to go down the field and they had 2 timeouts. Am I correct? They had 2 timeouts. And I actually thought at that point that they still had another chance to win. Because of your field goal kicker.
Yeah.
Right? Because of your field goal kicker at home. And I said, if they get a pet over that 50, they're going to score.
Yep.
And lo and behold, Jalen Hurts drops back and he finds Jesse Bates, who teams for the first couple of weeks have been avoiding. They've been avoiding throwing the ball in there because of those 2 safeties back there. And, they're 2 starters. You got 2 bona fide starting safeties back there, and they're both ball hawks.
Yeah.
And if you hang a ball in the air, it's a good chance that one of them was going to come down with it, and Jesse Bates did. How do you feel about the play calling on that last series, and how do you feel about that actual play? That Jalen Hurts hung in the air. How do you feel about him hanging that ball in the air? Do you think he should have stayed safer? You think he should have took off and ran, or what do you think?
I looked at that play so much, I just resulted to a really bad throw and not the best decision. Like that has been a knock on Jalen Hurts since 2022. His decision making since that year, because again, he's asked to do so much more now in Philadelphia than he was in 22. Like I said, you ran the RPO in 2022. You're not asked to read defenses off the line of scrimmage, post snap, all those things that a traditional quarterback does. Now he's asked to do that for the first time in his career. It's going to take time. So I was really, really upset with how that game ended because, one, it was not the best decision at all. He could have dirted the ball, lived to fight another day. You don't need to play hero ball all the time. And it was a bad throw. Like Devontae said, if he just zips it a little bit, that's a catch. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like Devontae Smith wasn't open. There was a gap there. You just got to put it in the right spot.
Right.
Again, this has been a thing for Jalen Hurts the past couple from the end of last season to now. He was so like he was virtually perfect in 2022. Yeah. Like perfect to the point where like the only mistake he made that year was the fumble in the Super Bowl. Like that was the mistake he made, right? Since then, it's been a domino effect of being a turnover machine, and that's because he's not able to read NFL defenses yet. Like he's just not. Incredible. You know what I mean? And like it's not. And look, it's not a knock on him. Quarterbacks struggle with that very early in their career. Okay, hell, Patrick Mahomes recently just started learning how to read defenses, right? Like, it's not a bad thing. It just takes some time. It takes reps, and he was never asked to do that in his career until now. So
that's incredible.
You know what I'm saying? And like, is he a traditional pocket thrower? No. Is he a good thrower? Yes, but it wasn't the best throw. It wasn't the greatest decision in the world. He could have dirted the ball, fight another day. Like you said, I don't think he had a lane to run. I don't think he had any other outlets to throw to. Honestly, I would have just put the ball in the dirt and call another play because like you said, you only needed 15 yards, 15, 20
Yeah,
yards, and you have Jake the Leg. Let him win the game for you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I've seen him kick big kicks before and make them. So
yeah.
again, hopefully it's a learning experience for him.
Mhm,
And by the end of the year, we may have a different conversation with how Jalen Hurts looks with this offense now that he's asked to be a professional quarterback. Maybe it
mhm.
looks better as the season goes on. And these types of things just don't happen anymore because now he has a better feel for the offense. So, you know,
Good points, man. Good points. Well, this is what we're going to do. Since I said we was only going to keep you for an hour, this is going to be a rapid fire. I'm going to
okay,
go through these. I'm going to go through these last few slides, and all I need is like about 10 seconds of opinion from you.
sure.
Okay, Darius Slay is on the board, and this is the play where he got caught looking in the backfield, and Drake London got outside of him. Your opinion? 10 seconds.
Don't know what the hell you were doing, Darius. Like, you're a veteran. You know better. Don't eye the quarterback. Eye your guy in that situation. You swat the ball down.
Mm, good point. Okay, we're going to go right here to this is them hoisting him up in the air after the play, and the fans in the background look dejected. At this point, what do you think that those fans, those Philly fans in the back, were thinking? Since you're a diehard Eagles fan, what was going through their heads?
Here we go again. Here we go again. That's what they were thinking in that stadium. Here we go the fuck again.
I believe it too because it looks
Yeah,
just
man.
like that's what they were saying.
Yeah, man. So bad.
Okay, Darius Slay comes out with a tweet after the play, and he says, "Damn, this one was on him, and he owe you one. He owes Philly one. What do you think he's taking complete responsibility for the loss, or is he looking for love? Is this a pity party? Does he believe what he says? Because this is the same guy that tweeted out that he didn't want to be in Brazil.
He needs to just shut the hell up and play ball. He just needs to shut up and play ball. James Bradbury did the same in the Super Bowl. Look what it did with
Mhm.
him. I don't care about
Yeah,
accountability. Play ball.
play ball. Same thing I said. I agree with you. I said
Mhm.
shut the hell up and just ball.
Play ball.
Saquon Barkley came out and said, "I let my team down today." So, uh, is this him looking for pity? Should he just be quiet and play ball also? Catch the ball next time? Is he taking the blame? Is everybody taking the blame? What's
He's
going on?
accountable. He's accountable. I like that about him, but
Mhm.
there's nothing you could do now. You're going to win more games for us than lose. Just make the next
Good
play
point.
next time.
Good point. Just forget about it and move on, right?
Move on.
We're gonna go to number. We already did Howie. We're gonna go to these last two.
Sure.
Okay. All right. These last two. That's Bijan and right here. This is it right here. Um, Howie Roseman had a chance to draft Bijan Robinson, and he took Jalen Carter instead. Who would you rather have between the two players at this point? Now that you've seen them both, would you still want Jalen Carter if you could go back, or would you switch your pick and take Bijan Robinson?
Still too early, but I still would pick Jalen Carter.
Okay, okay, yeah. Defense first, right?
You got to replace Fletcher Cox. You
Got
have
to.
to. And Jalen Carter's too talented not to take. That could have been a number one overall pick. He's that talented. Like, he's just not playing up to snuff right now. He's a talented football player.
Good point. Good point. Man, listen, man, that concludes our show. Asaf, man, I thank you for coming through, man. Tell the people how they can find you, man. Like what's your handle and where can they find you? Where can they join you and subscribe to you and all that?
Well, I appreciate you bringing me on. This was a very fun time. We've been trying to get this going for some time now, so I'm glad we were able
Yes,
to do it. So thank you very much for bringing me on.
very well.
You could find me on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube at the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. Okay. You can find me, type me in the search bar. I should pull up with a cartoon picture of myself covered in the midnight green.
Well, I thank you, man. It was my pleasure having you on. This was a fun time. I actually loved it. I love this show. I'm so glad we linked up and got a chance to do it. I
Yeah,
hope we can
thank you
do
so
it
much.
again. Listen, good luck to your season.
Appreciate
Good
it.
luck to the Philadelphia Eagles this year. You know what I mean? It's going to be a tough year. I believe that we're going to have a different Super Bowl champion this year. I believe that the Eagles will forget this play. I don't know how they're going to, I don't know what's going to go on for the rest of the season, but I believe that they will forget this one. They will win more games. Um, you would like to have that one back. It's a learning experience. I think they'll learn a lot from this, all of those players, and I think they'll get it together. They're definitely a playoff team,
I
but
think so
at this
too.
point, they got some things to clean up, and so do some other teams. There's a lot of teams out there have things to clean up. Eagles are just not the only ones. And I look forward to the season. Asaf, man, I look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks, man.
And
Appreciate it.
man, listen, man, it was fun. And I will see you again, man. I'll definitely be inviting you over again. Okay.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate y'all. Thank
Right.
you.
Have a good night, man.
Thanks, man. You too.
Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, man, that was a great visit from Asaf. Listen, man, this is how it is in the NFL, man. You got a lot of passionate fans that come up and they want to voice their opinion here, and this is what we do here on the Scoreboard Keepers. We don't, like I said, we don't keep receipts, we keep the score. And listen, man, don't forget, people, to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. This is what we do. We got a lot more coming for you, and we look forward to seeing you guys here. If you want to come in and chime in on what we're talking about here, just subscribe to the channel and leave some comments down below. We'll definitely respond, and we look forward to it. So we'll see you guys soon. Have a good night and God bless.